Hi, I'm still here. It has been an age, but I'm back. Welcome everyone to Pen to Paper. I'm Leah Lindman, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. I know I said at the beginning of last month that I would be back full on doing AuthorTube and BookTube videos. However, it became pretty apparent to me that I couldn't quite get back to this love of mine, to this beautiful community of mine. And not because I didn't want to. I really, really wanted to. And I struggled with the idea of letting this go for another month. But listen, I needed to do this because I needed to get back into the habit of my own writing. I'm here on this channel offering you author tips, writing advice, and it was very high time that I would kind of get back to the basics and listen to my own advice. And that was to come up with a writing rhythm once again that was constant and dependable. For the last year and a half, I've been writing my own work, but it's been a few hundred words here or there. And I just got to a place where I was just sick and tired of it. Like, I needed to write 1,000 words a day because that's what I've done for all my other 4 books. And I'm working on my 5th one right now. And I'm excited because this whole past month, I've been taking this time that I usually put toward BookTube and AuthorTube, and I've been putting it toward my writing. Even if it's been 9:30 at night, I'm still writing 1,000 words. It's about an hour. And I just want to be in a place where I am doing what I'm teaching so that not that my teaching is worth more, but that we're in this journey together. That you and I are working out what we know to be good as a writer. So that's what I've been working on this past month. But now, truly, I am back. Now that I've put myself in a proper schedule, a good writing flow, knowing where I'm going with my book, I'm excited to get back to you and to share my writing advice with you. One of my favorite parts of a book is looking at the beautiful cover and then you're flipping the book to the back because you want to know what it's about. The cover, for me at least, is the first thing that grabs my attention if I'm seeing the cover. If I'm only seeing the books shelved side by side, then maybe it will be the title. But as soon as I like the cover and it intrigues me, I want to see the book blurb in the back. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to write an amazing book blurb. Because for most consumers that go into stores, they're not there to spend hours and hours of their time reading through all the book blurbs on the books. Most of them, they either know what books they're going to go in for, or they have maybe 15 to 20 minutes to find a book that they want to look at and then actually buy and take home to read. And there are a lot of books competing for their attention, and you want your book to stand out with the book blurb. So, how do we do that? How do we go about creating a book blurb that after they look at your cover and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful and they want to know more about it, they flip it, they read your book blurb, and they're like, that's mine, I'm going to the cache to check it out. Now, obviously, let's say you write fantasy and they're not fantasy readers. Well, they're not even going to touch your book, most probably, because that's just not their genre. But I'm talking about readers who are looking for your genre, who want to find a new read. You want to grab their attention nice and quick. So, how do we go about that? Well, let's start at the top of the blurb. For many blurbs that I see, I usually see 1 to 2 key phrases at the top that use vivid nouns and pronouns to grab my attention, to suck me in to the heartbeat of a story. One book blurb that is very famous for this, and this was the entirety of the book blurb, was Twilight. Now, I can't quite remember all the words, but it's very famous. Something about 3 reasons. 1, that vampires are real. Maybe. I think that's it. Number 2, that a vampire is lusting after her blood that it needs to feed. Number 3, that she has fallen in love with this vampire. 1, 2, 3. Short, boom, to the point. And you're like, how does this happen where you have a life and death situation and yet there's love involved in the equation? Tell me more. Now we know that that series has a lot of problems in its own right, but you can't deny the brevity and yet the efficacy of the words used to make the reader pay for this book so they can find out how does this all work out. And that's what you want your book blurb to be. So for the first, before you even get into the main bones of your book blurb, having a 1 to 2 phrases of strong, punchy lines to suck your reader into the heartbeat of your book will be of tremendous help. Now let's get down to how long should a book blurb be? After you have those 1 to 2 phrases, 1 to 2 phrases of before the book blurb, how long should a book blurb be? On average, it should be 150 to 250 words. After that, you're going to lose your reader. Before that, you may not have introduced everything that you need to introduce to the reader to engage them into your story. Now, let's go down to the actual structure of your book blurb. In the book blurb, you don't want to write too much, but you want to write enough. I know, that is so cliche. That is not helpful. So let's throw it back a little bit. We want to expose the bare bones of our story. And our story is setup, rising action, climax, to the end. In the bare bones of our blurb, we want to introduce the protagonist. And you could also introduce a second main character as well. But as for the protagonist, we don't want to give the backstory of their life, so stay away from that. You're just going to introduce them, what are they up to in the world now, and then you're going to introduce the problem of the story. What inserts into their life that ruins their day-to-day? What do they now have to face? And then you're going to perhaps throw out that they're going to handle the situation or problem in this way. But then the situation grows to such an enormous capacity that will our protagonist even be able to solve it? Boom. And you leave it to the reader to wonder, oh, okay, well, how are they going to solve this problem? I want to read and I want to know more. That is how you bring the reader to buy your book, by giving enough, but not too much. And I want to show 2 different blurbs that have done this excellently that I think will be of great help to you. But before I get to those blurbs, another thing that you should really do is look at the book blurbs of high-selling books in your genres, 4 to 5 different ones. So let's say if you're a fantasy writer, you're going to look at 4 to 5 fantasy books with blurbs on the back, or horror, or sci-fi, historical fiction, whichever ones you are in the same genre as, you're going to look at those 4 to 5 book blurbs, and then you can look at the structure. Do they have those 1 to 2 different phrases? How much of the story do they tell, and how much do they keep hidden? And then you can structure your book blurb in a way that follows those structures. Obviously, we do not plagiarize. We do not use the same sentence structure. We do not use the same words. But chances are your own book is different. It's a different story from these other books. So I don't think you would have to end up plagiarizing. You could make the book blurb your own, but you can use the concepts of these other book blurbs to help you create your own. And then in a book blurb, sometimes it's nice to kind of have a thematic element thrown out. Like in this book, we will look at unconditional love or family lost and found, something like that. You can throw out your theme in a way that just tells the reader there is a theme to this book and they can keep an eye out for it. Now, one of the book blurbs that I'm going to be reading to you masterfully throws out the theme as part of the blurb itself, and I'm so excited to read it to you. But before we do that, I also want to give one more piece of advice when you are writing a book blurb, and that is to create an atmosphere. Create what they expect to find in your book. And one of the books that I read this past month was Shadows of Swanford Abbey by Julie Klassen. And listen to this. In the 1 to 2 phrases at the top that just draw the reader in, they use Agatha Christie meets Jane Austen. Boom! We've already got an atmosphere here, and you're drawing from 2 different pools of people who love Agatha Christie. You're going to draw mystery lovers in. You're going to draw in a little bit of love for history. Same thing with Jane Austen. You're going to draw in the idea of courtesy, history, Regency era. What else? Intrigue, late night scandals. That's just what you think of when you put those 2 together. So automatically you have atmosphere. And now I want to read to you 2 different book blurbs, and we're going to break down how these book blurbs actually follow the criteria that I've just given to you. So this one is Almost Ruth by Tyler Jones, and it's so good. Listen to this. Asheville is a town with a secret history. Okay, hold up. Why would we start with the town? Well, in this book, the town is actually a character. And so I'm not giving him points off for using it in the book blurb. It is very apt. Ancient structures lie hidden in the woods, and strange rituals are performed to keep the dead where they belong. You've already inserted atmosphere and intrigue, and I want to know more about this strange town. For a gravedigger, Abel Cunningham, it is also a town filled with regrets. Okay. We've got our main character. We know he's a gravedigger. That says a lot already. And remember how I said you could insert theme into the structure, bare bones of the blurb itself? Look, right there. It's a town filled with regrets. You know regret is going to be part of the theme. It's subtle, but enough to know that that is a theme. And then when Abel is tasked with an unusual burial, he discovers there are more than just corpses in the cemetery. Ooh, doesn't that just give you chills? Doesn't that just want to make you know more? Like, what happens in this town? Like, what's with the cemetery and the burial and strange rituals? It got me hooked right away. And then here we have a little paragraph on setup, setting, and kind of how this all ties together. Set in an unsettling vision of the Old West, Almost Ruth is the new nightmare from the author of Criterion and The Dark Side of the Room. Boom. I love new nightmare. That is so, it's appealing. So take a look at the size of this book blurb. It's short. Look at that, medium-sized paragraph, tiny little paragraph, and that's it. The rest are just other authors giving their spiel on the book and how they loved it so much. That's not actually part of the book blurb. That's a little bit different. We're just focusing on the book blurb tonight. But this masterful, well done. And another one that I want to bring to you is Susanna Kearsley. This one's a little bit longer, but it still adheres to the structure that I taught you. This is called The Shadowy Horses, and Susanna Kearsley is a famous Canadian historical fiction author, but her historical fiction is usually a dual timeline. So you have someone in contemporary world, and then you have someone in history, and then their lives intersect or something like that. So listen to this one. Here, there's no 1 to 2, boom, catch your eye phrases. It's just straight into the text. With its dark legends and passionate history, the windswept shores of Scotland are an archaeologist's dream. Verity Gray is thrilled by the challenge of uncovering an ancient Roman campsite in a small village, but as soon as she arrives, she can sense danger in the air. All right, we've already got atmosphere, history, archaeology, Scotland, and then we have Verity Gray. We find out this is what she's doing with her life. She's going to the dig, but then there's danger. That's the insertion of the problem. And then we have a second character. Her eccentric boss, Peter Quinnell, has spent his whole life searching for the resting place of the lost 9th Roman Legion and is convinced he's finally found it, not because of any scientific evidence, but because a local boy has seen a Roman soldier walking in the fields, a ghostly sentinel who guards the bodies of his long-dead comrades. Surprisingly, Verity believes in Peter and the boy, and even in the sentinel, who seems determined to become her own protector, but from what? There, you also figure out who is Peter, what does he do, and he's searching for something, and something, a presence, is out to get him and Verity. And we don't know if it's physical, if it's spiritual. It sounds fascinating. But there you have it. It teases a little bit of the story, but not too much that you already know what happens. We want to know what happens, and it ends kind of on a question to grab that reader further in. Those two are excellent depictions of a book blurb, a proper one. I hope that this book blurb breakdown has been helpful to you. It is something that every book needs. It's difficult. Book blurbs can be difficult because with a novel, you have thousands and thousands of words to get your point across. And yet with a book blurb, you have a very finite number of words that you can use to get the point across in a way that is attractive to your reader. So I hope that this has helped you in creating your own book blurb for your book. So tell me, what is a book, or what should I say this? What aspect of a book blurb is your favorite? Is it the 1 to 2 phrases that catch your attention? Is it knowing a little bit of the story but not enough? What is it? Tell me what captures your attention with a book blurb that makes you buy the book. If you enjoyed this video and this teaching, please like the video and subscribe. Thank you to all my subscribers who have been here with me so far, and I will see you next week.